Committee, thank you for your invitation to address you today. I am here to faithfully assist this committee and to outline my experience of the practices of the Irish state in dealing with my application under the 2014 Protected Disclosures Act. Having walked that walk for justice, I can attest to this committee that there are many failings in the implementation of the existing Act, and the practices are greatly at variance with the theory. The circumstances of my working life in a local authority forced me to blow the whistle on and refuse to participate in serious wrongdoings. These wrongdoings had catastrophic consequences for the abused. On the 22nd of June 2016, and by way of context, this is the day before the Brexit referendum in the UK, I submitted a protected disclosure application under the Protected Disclosures Act 2014 to the relevant minister as per the Act in Leinster House in person. He assured me that it would be dealt with expeditiously. Attaching with the protected disclosure application, I provided a copy of my published book, Abuse of Power Because Councils Can, to the Minister, which outlines relevant particulars supporting my application. Committee, be assured that no line in my book or veracity of any of my statements I have made have ever been challenged in the past 7 years by any person or entity because I am telling the truth. 6 months later, in December 16, the Minister telephoned me and related that his department did not yet have policies or procedures in place to administer my protected disclosure application, but asked me to trust him that he would deal with it fairly. I do believe, Committee, that I was entitled to the remedy sought in the application at that stage and should not have been penalised further by delays for the admitted failure of the Irish government to have administrative processes in place for legislation that was already 2.5 years in existence. It is clearly set out in that Act that a minister is a relevant person to receive protected disclosures. The elephant in the room about the Protected Disclosure Act 2014 is that whether by accident or by design, it is not time-bound. What has no timeline is farcical, is a line I have heard repeated by a minister in relation to another topic. And it is a very pertinent point. Under the current regime, it seems no resolution needs ever to emerge. Unfortunately for bona fide whistleblowers who expect a fair process in a timely manner with an outcome advised to them, I can only say that since I submitted my protected disclosure application to the relevant minister in June 2016, the entire protected disclosure process has failed for me. Not alone was I deprived of a timeline, I was further deprived of communications, including the determination, which I understood was made in May 2018. The then minister wrote to me and told me to wait for the outcome. I am still waiting, and he has gone from the Oireachtas since. The current minister issued the same response in a PQ 3 years later in 2021. Wait. The minister states that he does not have any role of governance or oversight or role in the way that the public funds allocated by him is spent or misspent by a local authority. The minister confirmed to me in writing that the CEO of a local authority can use the public resources in any way he decides. Committee, despite this fact, the application I made in good faith to the minister was put before the same local authority for their investigations of their own actions. And this removed any possibility of a fair process for me due to the overriding conflicts of interest. I believe that the protected disclosure legislation has been used against me while I was working in good faith, supplying the documentation and evidence to support my application. The minister delegates the task of investigations back to the perpetrators. Years have gone by again. This is the perversity of administration that I experienced under implementation of the 2014 Protected Disclosures Act. Now, having exhausted all avenues in my home country and suffering denial of justice and infringement of my fundamental rights, I submitted an application to the Petitions Committee of the European Parliament for assistance. This was heard on the 13th of April 2021, and I have submitted the original EU broadcast stream of petition to the clerk of this committee to share with you for fuller information. The Petitions Committee then sent my petition to the European Commission Directorate of Justice for investigation. They returned with comment that it was a very well substantiated application, but as of this moment in time, until the Irish government has transposed the EU directive into Irish law, the Commission cannot pass a judgment on the failings of the whistleblower legislation just yet. Importantly for me, the Petty Committee has taken interim actions while we are all awaiting transposition of the 2019 directive. 1. The Petty Committee has kept my European petition open. 2. The Committee referred my petition to the Legal Affairs Committee for investigation. 3. The Committee has written to the Irish Department of Justice seeking information about progress of the Irish Government in implementing the EU Whistleblowers Directive. When the Irish Department of Justice received the letter from the EU Petitions Committee Chair, they declined responsibility and passed it onto the Department of Public Expenditure and Reform. They, in turn, declined responsibility for it and passed it on to the Department of Housing, Local Government and Heritage, the Minister of which was the recipient of my original PD application. Committee, how can any ordinary citizen like me have faith in this system? Committee, I did not choose to become a whistleblower. I was pushed out of a career in the local government sector at 52 because I believe of my respect for the law, adherence to standards and governance, and my refusal to join others in abusing the rights of citizens. All of these details are set out in my 2014 published book, Abuse of Power Because Councils Can. As a public servant, I refused to be corrupt. I went to the High Court in 2010 and had my own good name reconfirmed. All of my evidence was taken at its highest point. The court found that I had made a recommendation for the abused tenant to be transferred to alternative accommodation, as was her legal right. Council officials denied this for years until then. And I believe that woman would be alive today if she had not been so abused. Then never apologised to her family or to me. Committee, the Minister delegated responsibility for my protected disclosure application to the same local authority. I ask you, is there any political will for a fair outcome for people like me? My High Court action in 2010 uncovered an absence of legislation governing recruitment in local authorities. There is a serious public interest element to this finding, the ramifications from which highlights the scope and potential for mass patronage and nepotism in local authorities in Ireland. I ask you, is this democracy? Committee, it is contended by some academics and commentators that individuals who blow the whistle are courageous. In the absence of open support and backing from our elected politicians, I believe whistleblowing persists to be a precarious route for individuals standing against corruption. It continues to mean risks, costs and suffering for honest workers of conscience and perversely without any negative career consequences for the perpetrators. I do not dare to doubt the bona fides of anyone here today, but in truth, we all know that in the real Ireland, any legislation is only as good as it is in its enforcement. And in my lived experience, this is primarily due to the lack of political will to enforce the legislation that is already there, with or without a timeline. Committee, I am not looking for something that I'm not entitled to. The remedy in the Protected Disclosures Act 2014 is minuscule with the actual cost to me for my honesty and integrity, and does not even consider the whole retaliation element, but I want closure. I have copied the Committee with my original Protected Disclosure application to the Minister. I have explicitly waived all rights of anonymity from the outset. Doing the right thing as a public servant and blowing the whistle on wrongdoing did not present the biggest challenge for me. What has presented extreme challenge over the past 17 years is the victimisation, penalisation and retaliation that I have endured and suffered, coming from actions of individuals who are protected inside state-funded organisations and are personally cosseted by the public purse. It is unfair that they are shielded from all accountability for their actions and are enabled to engage in malicious strategies to delay, deny and wait for the whistleblower to die. And I think at 70 years of age, this is unsavoury at best. Committee, I have many concerns about the transposition of the EU directive into Irish whistleblowing law, which I hope you can explore further. I'm happy to answer any questions. And by the way, I submitted 16 documents to support this statement. They're comprised of letters to and from the department, and it shows the chronology of my whole application and how this Protected Disclosures Act 2014 doesn't work for the whistleblower. But it is a shame that these documents were censored from the committee, because I believe full information is a requirement if you want to move forward and seriously do what the electorate expects you to do, and that is represent everybody, but leave some space for the honest, conscientious worker. Thank you.
Julie Grace, thank you very much for your contribution. I read your book, Abuse of Power Because Councils Can, and I want to commend you on it. And I followed your course of action through to the European Union with the help of Luke Ming Flanagan and others. And again, I commend you on that. I can't disagree with what you have said in your contribution. And I will address the issue of those documents that have not appeared before members. But just to say to you that where they include the names of individuals, there's an issue arises. However, if the documents and the named individuals are part of the public information, then we'll address that today.